This is Valley News Live at 5.
We begin with breaking news. Just a couple minutes ago, the Clay County Sheriff's Department told us they're still looking for the person involved in a high-speed chase and crash this afternoon in Moorhead. Deputies are now saying they know who the person involved in the chase is, and there is no danger to the public. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie has been following this breaking story for you and has more from the scene where everything's happening. Courtney.
Thanks, Stacy. As you said, we're continuing to learn more. We just learned that this chase actually started on Highway 10 when law enforcement tried to pull over a man who had a warrant out for his arrest. They had to stop that chase because of the danger to the public. But authorities found the vehicle again here at the intersection of Main Avenue and 11th Street in Moorhead, just outside the Hornbachers, when they hit a taxi at that intersection. And then you can see here they continued to come up onto the curve of the Hornbachers, taking out these signs. You can see there are a lot of car parts still on the ground. They cut all the way through this Hornbachers parking lot. There are tons of skid marks and tire tracks on the ground all the way until they stopped around the corner outside of St. Joseph's. And that's where police were finally able to stop them. But he took off on foot. And like you said, they tried to bring in a canine unit and they were still unable to find him. Now, authorities were going through his car. They put that school on lockdown for about 20 minutes. And they were walking around conducting interviews, but still we're on the lookout for this person. And they do want to let you know that he is known to them and that there's no danger to the public. Live in Moorhead, Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
All right, Courtney, thanks so much. Dilworth police are asking for help finding 60-year-old Kenneth Bosby. Police say he was supposed to visit a friend near St. Cloud yesterday, but he never showed up. Authorities say his bags and phone are still at his home in Dilworth, and no one has spoken to him since Sunday evening. He's 5'8", 180 pounds, and was possibly last seen at Walmart in Dilworth on Sunday or Monday heading for a bus. If you've seen him or know where he could be, contact the Dilworth Police Department at the number on your screen. Now, here's a first look at our weather with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Hutch.
Oh, another brutal morning. Air temperatures this morning 15 below in Fargo and close to 30 below near the international border. And right now, that wind has been pretty brisk throughout the day. So we still have wind chills between 25 and 35 below as we head into the evening, and colder air is settling in. Here's a look at the wind chill warning. Once again, our northern counties along and north of Highway 200. It's where the most concern is, but all of us will be cold, including here in the FM area as temperatures slide by bedtime to nearly 15 below zero. It does look like the wind tapers off a little bit. Even colder air expected along the international border as well. Not dangerous cold the next several days, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel. We'll talk about a nice little warm up to look forward to, and we'll talk about how low we go as we glide through the weekend. Coming up here in a bit. Stacy.
All right, Hutch, thanks so much. Several families are now receiving help from the Red Cross after an apartment fire in North Fargo. It happened just before 10 last night at 711 10th Avenue North. That's in the Roosevelt Elementary School neighborhood. The Red Cross is helping 5 people with emergency housing, food, clothing, and medications. After the fire was put out, victims got 10 minutes to retrieve essential items from their apartments before having to vacate for at least a few days. The fire watch team spent the night at the scene, keeping an eye out for flare-ups. No word yet on how the fire started. One victim is now dead and 4 others are injured following a shooting at the Alina Clinic in Buffalo, Minnesota. The victim who died is identified as 37-year-old Lindsay Overbay. Authorities say 3 other victims are in critical condition and 1 was discharged from the hospital. 67-year-old Gregory Ulrich was identified as the suspect and was arrested. Police say he was angry with the care he received. A woman who was injured in a head-on crash near Kindred, North Dakota in January has passed away. The crash happened on January 12th at 54th Street Southeast and 160th Avenue Southeast. Police found 2 cars involved in a head-on crash with one engulfed in flames. Candace Bloomhagen died last Friday due to the injuries she sustained in the accident. It's been 5 years since the standoff that led to the shooting death of a Fargo police officer. Officer Jason Mosier died in the line of duty on February 11, 2016, while responding to a domestic disturbance call in North Fargo. Fargo police are holding a memorial service in his honor at 11 tomorrow morning in the City Commission chambers. You can catch that live streaming on our website, valleynewslive.com. Two men accused in a construction fraud scheme in McLean County have been sentenced to 15 months in prison and have paid more than $700,000 in restitution. 56-year-old Bartley Gorman Jr. and 27-year-old Sean Gorman, both of Minot, pleaded guilty to charges including exploitation of a vulnerable adult and construction fraud. An affidavit filed says the two men victimized elderly or vulnerable people using residential construction fraud. It says the two men are part of a crime ring known as the Irish Travelers and several other names, and concentrated their efforts on construction scams in the rural areas of oil-producing North Dakota counties. House Democrats are laying out the core of their case in the historic second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. House managers using the former president's own words to prosecute the case that he incited insurrection against the government he swore to defend. Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Opening their impeachment case today, House managers turned former President Trump into a powerful witness against himself.
And you have to get your people to fight.
Using his own words as evidence, he incited the attack on the U.S. Capitol and planted the seeds of insurrection months earlier through a campaign of lies about the election.
The Democrats are trying to steal the White House.
He assembled the mob, he summoned the mob, and he incited the mob.
House Democrats methodically laid out allegations that Mr. Trump encouraged an angry group of supporters, some of them armed and ready to turn rhetoric into revolution, on the very day when Congress was counting the votes to finalize the 2020 election. It was a powder keg. They say the former president lit the fuse.
He told them to fight like hell, and they brought us hell on that day.
And as the violence escalated,
he watched it on TV like a reality show. He reveled in it, and he did nothing to help us.
When Mr. Trump finally did tell the rioters to go home, he stopped short of condemning them.
We love you. You're very special.
While still perpetuating what House prosecutors are calling the big lie.
We had an election that was stolen from us.
The Trump legal team begins its defense on Friday, focused on claims he was exercising free speech and never encouraged violence. January 6th, a day Mr. Trump told his supporters to remember, today looming large in the historic first impeachment trial of a former president.
Sources tell NBC News that Trump was furious with his lawyer's performance yesterday when the Senate voted mostly down party lines that the trial of a former president is constitutional. Members of the White House COVID-19 response team held a press conference today where the CDC director spoke about the importance of wearing masks. Dr. Walensky spoke about a report released by the agency today that showed how double masking can provide high level of protection against the viral particles that cause COVID-19. She also said she believes between 1% and 4% of the cases in the U.S. are due to the variant first identified in the UK.
I want to be clear that these new scientific data released today do not change the specific recommendations about who should wear a mask or when they should wear one. But they do provide new information on why wearing a well-fitting mask is so important to protect you and others.
A COVID-19 response coordinator also announced that members for the COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force have been selected. The most recent numbers continue to show good signs in North Dakota regarding COVID-19. 759 people are currently listed to have the coronavirus, with 34 hospitalized because of it.
We continue to encourage everyone across the whole state, and including those that are either traveling to, working in, or living in our larger metro areas and our larger population counties, to make sure they're continuing to practice the North Dakota SMART guidelines.
It was also announced today that more doses of the COVID vaccine are coming to North Dakota and that you should be checking to find out when it's your turn to get a shot. In Grand Forks, the city announced late this afternoon that it will now vaccinate anyone age 65 or older, regardless of other health conditions. Over in Clay County, public health officials say they're seeing less vaccines this week than they were last week. Valley News Team's Brian Sherrod breaks down the COVID-19 update from the Clay County Board of Commissioners.
Clay County Public Health continues to provide the COVID-19 vaccine to those that qualify, but this week vaccinations are looking pretty low. Now, just last week, Clay County Public Health provided 1,000 vaccination shots. This week, they're providing 400 first-dose vaccines and 200 second-dose vaccines. So far in Clay County, 6,580 patients have received the first dose and over 1,300 have received the second. Retail pharmacies are receiving limited doses that are being distributed to pharmacies, clinics, and public health.
And we did get a little bit of a late start without having our hospital, but Clay County Public Health has requested a lot of vaccine. We've gotten it and we've distributed it, and it's kind of slowing down because we now have more opportunities for vaccines.
In Clay County, there has been 6,701 cumulative cases, 83 cumulative deaths, and 280 cumulative hospitalizations. Now, the cumulative cases is highest with the 20 to 24-year-old age group and active cases with group 15 to 24-year-olds. Brian Sherrod, Valley News Live.
Clay County Public Health is reminding you to call their COVID-19 hotline about any related questions. That number can be seen at the bottom of your screen. Fargo Public Health has given out nearly 10,000 doses of the COVID vaccine so far. The health agency says it will likely hit the milestone next week. So far, more than 9,900 doses of the vaccine have been administered at the county's 23 vaccination sites. Now, there's a lot going on regarding COVID vaccines, and staying on top of the latest information is easy. Just have the VNL vaccine tracker handy. To check it out, visit our website or simply open your phone's camera and point it at the QR code on your screen. Then tap the link that pops up. The city of Tampa is honoring the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a boat parade through downtown. The parade began this afternoon, making its way down the Hillsborough River past several parks before ending at the Sparkman Wharf. There were several public viewing areas throughout downtown where fans could watch the parade. City officials asked the fans to socially distance as best they could. Coming up, we'll break down the changes you'll soon be seeing on Facebook after some say the social media site was used to help organize the deadly riot at the Capitol.
Cold outside, sending your pants out first to do a scouting mission. Not a bad idea. Thanks, Jeffrey, for your fun photo. Hey, we haven't seen as much snow this year. Typically, we're over 30 inches by this time in the season, and this year, only 20.9 inches in Fargo. We keep the snow away, but the cold stays. Your forecast is next.